Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our first professional panel series of the fall 2022 semester. You go ahead and come on in. Right, you're in the right place. You're here for the professional panel for government? Yeah. Yep, you're in the right place. Again, my name is Dr. Bill Zimmerman. I'm the Assistant Director for Employer Engagement with the Career and Professional Development Center. What I'll do here in a moment, I'll have folks just kind of introduce themselves on the line here real quick. And if you could briefly, in about 20 seconds or so, just tell us, a little bit about your organization, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go forward from there with some of the pre-planned questions I have, but we also have several students who are in the room who may have questions, and or some folks who are on the line who might have questions. So I'm going to start, I'm going to use my computer. We'll start, at least from what I'm looking at in my upper left, with Brian.
Good morning.
Brian, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your organization or the work that you do, just in a brief 20 to 30 seconds?
Sure. I was started out as an auditor with in municipal pensions. I'm still with municipal pensions. I'm an IUP grad, and I started here in 2006 as just a basic auditor, and have worked my way up to a regional manager in the last 16 years. So, but day-to-day basis is just crunching numbers and well, now at this point for me, it's I review work. I no longer actually do the audits, so I'm reviewing people's work now. But yeah, I like it here. I've 16 years, so but yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for growth, and every day it's something different.
Excellent. And you're coming to us from the PA Auditor General's office, correct?
I am. I'm actually working from home. We work from home now. I'm just outside of Allentown in Briningsville.
I'm originally from Pottsville on the eastern side of the state. So.
Well, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, but.
All right. Next, Michael is who I have on my screen. Michael Berkheimer.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Berkheimer. I'm a 2006 graduate of IUP. I then went to Penn State Law School, graduated in 2009. My current title is Senior Trial Attorney with the National Labor Relations Board. We are a federal independent executive agency. I've been in DC area since 2009. I originally grew up between Altoona and Bedford, a little town called Roaring Spring, right off Interstate 99.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Then Michelle, also from PA Auditor General.
Yes, good morning. Yes, I'm the Career Development Program Manager at the Pennsylvania Department of the Auditor General. Work alongside Brian. What I do is I develop and implement workforce development programs that address career growth opportunities for employees at all levels, and also help out with recruiting, hence me being here today. And just our mission really at the Auditor General is to serve the people of Pennsylvania by improving government accountability, transparency, and really the effective use of taxpayer dollars. So really excited to be here today and to share a little bit about what we do.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, good morning. My name is Jennifer Turnage, and I am the Human Resources Manager for the City of Philadelphia Health Department. I've been with the city for a little over 7 years, started with our central Office of Human Resources office, which was basically reviewing your applications, creating the examinations, and administering that. But for the past 2 years, I have moved on to, like I said, being the HR manager for the health department. So now I see the other side of what that looks like with getting candidates, interviewing candidates, and doing all the staffing for the health department.
Great. Next, we have Dave Gillingham, Jr.
Hey guys, doing IUP alumni class of 04. currently, I work for the Army Corps of Engineers right now. Before that, I was in private industry working for Michael Baker Engineering. I've been doing this practically since day one, right out of school. I am currently, like I said, a cartographer. I do GIS, it's Geographic Information Systems. I can, in fact, do land surveying as well, CAD design, pretty much anything under the sun with MicroStation as well, and any design programming as well. Currently, like I said, it's all GIS right now. I've been doing this since day one out of college, and all over the place, war zones, some of the nicest places to the worst places to go. So, but it's been a ride. So it's been good.
Thank you. Charles DiCarlo.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Charles DiCarlo, IUP alumni from class 2010. Started out working with the DoD Inspector General down here in DC area. After that, I worked with the Special IG for Afghanistan reconstruction. Cigar, I spent 2 years out in Afghanistan. So did that for a little bit. Now I am a audit supervisor with the Air Force Audit Agency, and we are the internal audit function of the Air Force. So anything the Air Force has, planes, aircraft, maintenance, financial, whatever it is, that's what we audit. So that's what I do.
Excellent. And I think I have one final panelist, and that's Bernadette Mathis, also from the city of Philadelphia.
Yes, hi, everybody. Hope you like my background. I was going to comment about that. Yes, my name is Bernadette Mathis, and I work for the Philadelphia Health Department Laboratory. I've been working as the director of the lab. I didn't start in this position initially. I came in as a contractor, and I was doing that for 7 years. And then I switched. Came as a contractor as the laboratory information systems manager in the lab. And then I switched over to being the director like the last 2 years. So pretty much the lab, we pretty much work with, we have 8 health centers throughout the city who send us their laboratory testing, as well as the Division of Disease Control, which are comprised mainly of epidemiologists. So we do a lot of testing on the diagnostic side, as well as on the surveillance side. And we were working very closely with EPIs, especially during the COVID pandemic, and even now. So we do all types of testing. We do from general chemistries to hematology to microbiology, TB. We also do food and water testing, as well as rabies. So I look forward to talking to you guys and answering any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's all our panelists. It looks like we have at least 2 students on the line. So again, for the students, if you have any questions as we're going, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll ask it out loud so that way the folks here in the room can also hear it. But I'll start with a question, and then I'll kind of turn it over to see if the students have any questions. And then if not, I have a couple of my other pre-prepared questions that we can use as well. But I think, and one that I always like to hear from folks is, because again, we all come from different backgrounds at times. What are some of the biggest misconceptions the general public has about either government work from your perspective, or maybe your specific agency? And I'll kind of look to you if somebody wants to give me a wave, give me a signal as to if you're ready to answer that, let me know. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, there's always a standing joke. Well, this is good enough for government work. Well, well, I've heard that 1.5 million times in the office, but they're not being serious whatsoever. When it comes to government, policy or anything like that, regulations, we always have a process we have to follow. So it's kind of, like one of the misconceptions I think that, sometimes Joe Public gets is that, a lot of government workers are sitting inside not doing anything. So, but yeah, that's my comment on that.
Anybody else? Biggest misconceptions? Good. Charles, let's go to you and then we'll come back. I think, Dave, your hand popped up again.
So at least for me, working in all of my jobs have been supporting the military with DoD, with the Army, and now at the Air Force. One of the biggest misconceptions for a lot of people is that you have to be enlisted or active duty or the reserves to be to help support the military, and that's not true. I've been a civilian my whole career. It's already been 12 years. So, it's not like, oh, there's a government agency with the military, I have to be active duty or I have to serve time in the military. That's not true. So that's definitely a misconception when people see, my agency or my previous agencies as well, is at least that aspect. That's what I'm big misconception is that I see about that.
Great. Other folks, either from our local, county level, state level areas.
Yeah, I can speak to that too. A misconception that I think also is, government doesn't innovate. So, last week I presented at a Government Innovation Pennsylvania conference at the Hilton in Harrisburg, and just the collaboration, the ideas being shared, common challenges spoken of, and solutions to those challenges. Things change every day, and it's fast paced, and we keep up with those changes. So I really think that government is modernizing. Over the past number of years, COVID has really forced us to do that with technology for sure. So that would be a misconception that, it's just not innovative. We don't keep up with trends and technologies, and we certainly do. We have to.
Other folks, any other responses to that? Go ahead, Jen.
From a local perspective, from the city of Philadelphia's perspective, I think a lot of misconception is that we're not hiring, when that is not the case, especially when we announce positions every 2 weeks. I think a lot of it is people maybe not applying themselves or asking the questions, but the city of Philadelphia is always hiring, always looking for talent. I think just people have to do a little digging, a little research sometimes to get like exactly what they're looking for, but we're always hiring.
Great. Dave, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I was gonna also chime in about the local government aspect of things. I'm formerly an elected official prior to working for the government, but one of the things a lot of folks don't also realize is that a lot of the decisions and or anything moving forward depends on a majority of a city council and or a county council and or a state or higher level body of government. So that all in itself requires patience and understanding. And a lot of folks don't understand that at times, realize what procedure needs to go in place before you can move forward with something.
Great. At this point, I'm going to make one quick announcement and then ask the students if they have any questions here. But for the folks who are in the room, probably about 12, I'll just make a small gesture. If you want to go over, grab a lunch, we have Chick-fil-A here for you all. So feel free to grab what you want. But for our students also, the ones who are in the room or joining us virtually, any questions of our panelists?
I just got a basic question real quick. Who was the I'm with the panel on the on-campus news.
Sure.
Which one of you? I just need to clarify something real quick. Which one of you said that they're in the agency that supports the military? You don't need to be active duty. Which one of you said that?
I believe that's Charles. Charles.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
From the Air Force Audit Agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you need any additional information about who people are, see me afterwards. I can get you a list of the folks who are on.
Okay. And
I'll clarify real quick. My agency is 99% all civilian. We do have one representative that is active duty. Air Force is a liaison between us and the Pentagon, but everyone else in our agency is civilian workforce.
Okay. And just one final thing, who was the one who said that procedures require city council support?
That was me. That was Dave.
Okay.
Yep. That does happen. I used to be a councilman in my hometown, so that does happen a lot, in some municipalities and cities.
Okay. And I have a real question to ask.
Awesome.
Have you ever been involved in a situation that was particularly dangerous or anything like that?
Yeah.
Could you elaborate a little, please? I mean, what obviously with.
I don't want to take over the meeting, but I've done land surveying in Compton, in California, to land surveys, Bagram Air Force Base, surrounded by landmines to my left and my right as we're clearing them out with the mule, or walking out outside the wire or whatever, to U.S. Border Patrol, to in 2018 Puerto Rico for the storm. So, but different scenarios for each one of those, and things you just have to be head on a swivel and aware of, the surroundings.
Yeah, I can, same sentiment. Was out in Afghanistan for 2017 and 19. I was out at the embassy in Kabul, so a lot more better accommodations than Dave was at in Bagram. But yeah, I mean, we still had the occasional rocket attacks, and earthquakes were never fun out there as well. But yeah, there was some hairy, some sketchy situations I was involved in as well too. So really, never thought my government career would take me to places like that, but it did. So yeah, there was some interesting times for sure.
Anybody else dangerous, or let's even call it challenging, perhaps, maybe not as necessarily physically dangerous. Go ahead, Mike.
To touch on the dangerous aspect, we have had attorneys in our agency had death threats made against them. Never myself, fortunately, but there's been a number of times I've had to step in and take over cases where oftentimes it's someone that we're moving against has had made death threats. I've taken depositions a few times with in the presence of Federal Protective Service or U.S. Marshals because of that. And its challenges tangential to that, but also related, is that we have witnesses who don't want to testify because they people make threats against them. We've had witnesses who have just disappeared. I'll say, I don't know what, we can't find them. I don't know whatever happens to them. They fall off the radar, and we can't get them to appear for whether it's a trial or a deposition, or even to speak with informally. So that said, I'm not in a dangerous job, and I don't want to really give the impression that that's what or my job is like, or a federal agency is like, but it is certainly something that it rises in a job you might not expect. I'll end there for now.
Thank you. Other students, other questions of our folks? For the folks who are joining us online, or the folks here in class? Yes, sir.
I just talk out loud. It's like,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, there's a microphone. Pick it up.
oh, nice. So everyone on this panel seems fairly successful. What tips or advice would you give a college student or a post-college graduate on being successful in the future?
I'll start. Definitely keep applying for stuff. Don't give up. If you put in for one job and you don't hear anything back, there's plenty out there. So, it might not be your best fit, especially for your first job, or something that you really don't want to do. But, getting to know people, getting to network with, other individuals that may have came from the same area, same background or whatever, but that's definitely just keep trying at it, keep applying. Don't give up on, if you get a lot of rejections, there's going to be something that comes through. And especially another thing, when you're applying and, they're going through the process, make sure you keep involved with them too, with the person that you either interview with or a recruiter or something, like, hey, let me know what, like, just kind of, keep them and keep yourself in their mind of like, hey, this person really wants to work for us as well. That's what I did for my first job. I just kept, pinging them every once, not be annoying, but just, keep pinging them and say, hey, how's things going? Everything going okay? Do you guys need anything else from me? And just that's what I did, and just keep at it. And then eventually you'll get to either a place, it doesn't have to be here, or just a place or an agency that fits exactly what you want to do. That would be my advice.
Yep.
Well, Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, I can speak to that too. Once you're in a job, make sure, I would say, that you talk to your supervisor about your short and long-term goals, where you want to be, and they can really help you get there. Try to find a mentor if you can. Take initiative once you're in the job. Really try to understand the why, like, what are you doing and why? How does it affect your department, your agency, your community? I think that really goes a long way towards a fulfilling career, understanding the why. Ask for stretch assignments, and really try to integrate yourself into the department once you're there as best you can.
Jennifer.
I just wanted to add, so with government, you have to fill out an application, and sometimes you get disapprovals. Ask questions. Sometimes it's just some missing information in your application that causes that disapproval or denial. So I think you should always follow up, like I said, ask questions, see how you can update your resume, explain your position as to why you are a good fit. But like I said, I think the best thing is especially with government, is to ask questions to find out why they denied your application.
Brian?
Yeah, another thing is try to learn as much about as many jobs as you can within an organization. I worked in banking. I've worked in several different things in the private sector before I came into the public sector, and making yourself as valuable as possible by learning as many jobs as you can. Don't be afraid. Don't be gripped by fear that I can't do that or that's beyond me. Try it. You'll figure it out. And obviously it'll help your chances of being promoted. Never say no. If an opportunity is there, don't second guess it. Take it.
Michael.
Yeah, I think my answer will piggyback off some of these, but really show a demonstrated interest in the agency or the government, department you're applying to. I ran our intern hiring policy or a program for about 6 years. I mean, we get hundreds of applications a year. So we were really looking for students who wanted to work for us, who took the time to learn what we did and could show us, that they wanted to work for us. Because there's going to be a lot of good applicants for the job. And one way you can set yourself apart is to come in and demonstrate that you really want it, that you're going to benefit the agency, but it's going to benefit you. And then use those internships to network and to turn them into jobs. It's not uncommon for us to hire internships. I know that's very common across the federal government because I have friends who work in many agencies and they hire interns all the time. And with that, spend the time you're with an organization to get to know the people, because they know people and they know where the jobs are. They can work backdoor to get you in, to shepherd you through the application process. So take advantage of alumni also. If you're here today, that's a good start. But I was, for example, on campus in the spring for an alumni event, and I offered to speak with students and about law school or being an attorney, and literally one student took me up out of that. And it should have been anyone who wanted to be an attorney. Should have been, whatever they want to do. If they even thought about being an attorney, you should have been, knocking on my door and saying, what can I do? So it's just open all the doors that are available to you and use your resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. This is Bernadette from the lab. Same thing here too. I'm just piggybacking on what you said, Michael, is that, we have several different avenues to be an intern inside the lab, because a lot of people don't know what the lab does. I don't think they do, my opinion. We don't have a whole lot of applicants for positions in the lab, but we are a very vital department you know, in hospitals as well as in the Department of Public Health. We do all that testing I just mentioned before. But also we have people that, you know, so we do have one of the internships that we have is in our food and water lab. It's a summer lab that's open. It's primarily, we do testing of water in swimming pools and at hotels and motels to make sure there's no E. coli or any bad bacteria in the swimming pools. We also do testing on summer feeding programs, like the summer lunches that they pass out at the recreational centers throughout the city of Philadelphia. So we do that type of testing, but then we bring in interns, you know, for that. And I have people who say, "Well, I'm interested in, you know, seeing what you guys do in the lab." So take advantage of that because, you know, what happens is a lot of times, you know, some of the people may be interested in working for the lab after they do the internship, or at the minimum, they've gained some knowledge about what we do in the lab as far as testing goes. So I like I was saying, I agree with you, Michael, on that. If you could take advantage of any internships, that would be beneficial for you.
Dave, I think you were coming off mute there, so I'm going to give you a chance.
Yeah, no, I agree with everybody here. I mean, that's good. You know, take advantage of the opportunities that, you know, are presented to you. You know, good. A big thing for me is, you know, I opened myself up to, you know, being able to travel abroad. This is not even an exaggerated statement. I made it to 43 out of 50 states just because of one job I had when I got out of school in 12 different countries. So, I mean, I traveled a lot, but I made it worth it in the end. I mean, I, you know, attended conferences and just kept networking like crazy to, you know, get where I'm at right now. And I'm just going to keep trying to move forward. So, I mean, it's all about, you know, applying to jobs, never giving up. I mean, I did an interview standing on the levee wall of the US-Mexico border one time by phone. So if I can do it, anybody can, you know, so just be persistent in applying for things and staying in contact.
Thank you. Any of our students, any other questions?
Can I just jump in real fast with one add-on?
Absolutely.
And it's a resource available to you now, career services. How are you going to find these internships and application places to apply? Use your career services office. They're there to work for you. They have the connections with the employers, so make sure you take advantage of that.
Thank you for that shameless plug. Other questions, folks, either in the room or the folks who are still joining us online? Give them a couple seconds. If not, I'll go with one of my standard ones. Okay. What would you say, and again, I know this may be very different from your different area or your different level of government, but what do you say are some of the biggest challenges facing either government employees or potentially your specific area right now?
I can speak to that. One of the challenges that we're facing now, since COVID, more of our staff are working remote. Prior to COVID, we did have a lot of staff working remote, which is awesome. But some of the newer staff that are working from home and scattered throughout the state, we're really trying to focus on, you know, collaboration, communication, consistent communication, and what does that kind of new team look like now that we're a little bit more dispersed. So we bridge that gap by using Microsoft Teams, video calls, screen sharing. But I know that is a focus for us at the Department of the Auditor General, really trying to remain cohesive and motivate our team remotely.
Other folks? Good challenges? Go ahead, Bernadette.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge that we have is, so we're primarily staffed by people who have bachelor's degrees in one of the sciences, life sciences, such as microbiology, chemistry, biology, that type of thing. And also they have to be certified in a clinical lab. So there's a test that you have to take. It's called the American Society of Clinical Pathology, ASCP. And another one is, well, AMT, which is American Medical Technology Association. But so we're finding it, and Jennifer knows, we are having a difficult time finding folks who want to work in the public health department lab as a laboratory science, a clinical laboratory scientist. So we definitely have a shortage of folks who are applying for the position. There's not enough people applying for the position. We have many openings. and we're just not getting enough applicants. But I think because there's an overall shortage countrywide for clinical laboratory scientists. That's the main challenge that we find. So we're trying to find innovative ways to recruit and advertise. This is one avenue here, so that we can, bring some more folks into the fold of laboratory science. So that's a major challenge that I have at this point.
Jennifer, you want to add?
Yeah, so just to add on to what Bernadette was saying, so another challenge is having to be competitive with the private industry. We're the health department, so of course we have to compete with other hospitals and other organizations, maybe nursing home. So just trying to be competitive with filling even like the nursing positions and doctors. So of course, due to COVID, you had a lot of people in those industries that decided to leave. So that has affected us as well, because now we have to compete with the hospitals that want to offer massive hiring bonuses and have variety schedules where, government, for a lot of us, the typical schedule is a Monday through Friday, a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 with our health centers. And now you have hospitals that have around the clock opportunities for overtime and whatnot. And, we're just trying to be competitive in that area.
Yep. Dave.
Well, the one thing I noticed all around, any level of government, is getting folks to show up, meaning apply, like some folks here said. But the other thing is getting people to show up, or even getting past the interview process. I'll say this loosely: pass a background check, pass a drug test or something. Those are real things and real factors that people do not get hired for. And I can't tell you how many times I hear about it on a very frequent basis from all levels of government. So those are very real things. So something to always bear in mind.
Yeah, oddly enough, I just so the folks on the line know, I used to work at Residence Life here at IUP for about 15 years. And recently had a young man who apparently is applying for a government job and was interviewed by an inspector just last week for part of his clearance check process. So, familiar with that background check process. Charles.
Yeah, definitely echo what Dave said. The process, not even like once you get past the background check, once you get past all those things, the process still takes a long time. And we have to work with, for us, we have to work with AFPC, which is our personnel center, which hires everybody throughout the entire Air Force. So we don't have our own HR department that can do internal hiring. So we have to wait that time. And some people either find jobs faster, either that don't require clearances, that don't require that, and leaves us behind of like, well, this person waited, months and months and months to get a job. And then, the interview went well. It's like, we're going to select you, but it's just the hiring process takes too long. They have limited resources through them, and just going through all that stuff as well. That hurts us a lot. We've already in the past year, we've had 3 or 4 applicants that backed out. They said, hey, already found another job. And we kept asking them, and we just lost on people just because of it taking so long.
Yeah. Other thoughts on challenges or things that we're facing?
I'm going to jump real fast and to touch on what was said about the work from home and trying to collaborate. I think probably everyone on this panel is like you. We came in when we were all face to face, and we had the opportunity to meet our supervisors and our peers and develop those relationships. I work at home, quite often, and I like it. But as a new hire, I don't know how I would learn how to navigate my way through just the office, but also how I've learned to do my job without just knocking on the door beside me and saying, "What is this?" or "How do I do this?" So I would, even if you have generous work at home policies, I think it is important for new hires to be in just to meet the people. And funding is always an issue. I didn't want to bring that up, but budget issues is so frustrating for us. You know, we at times can't do our mission because of budget issues. Like it's out of your hands. There's nothing you can do. You just do the best with what you got, and try not to allow it to just discourage you.
Yeah, I've seen that very active in the chat about budget and funding, and I don't know, Brian, came off mute. Are you going to go with that point or a different point?
More to what Michael was saying, that the training process for us has been kind of difficult because we do work remotely and work from home. When we do get new hires in, and especially with something like auditing, it's a lot easier to show somebody how to do it when you're right in front of them. A lot of our personnel that are auditors are older, and now a crop of younger people come in and that they're used to the technology and we're not. So there's been some challenges just training any new hirees that we get in, especially with something complicated like, you know, actuarial work, and trying to explain to them about stuff. That's been our biggest challenge, is how do we train, you know, auditors well, but when you're doing it remotely. That's been our kind of our sticking point, getting quality training to people when you're not in front of them.
Yeah, I can definitely empathize with that. Even just training some student employees during the pandemic was challenging when we either had to do it even in person, but from a distance. Again, speaking to my former life there in residence life, you know, it was challenging to try to help train people to be like how to interact with folks who we've never interacted in that capacity before. The funding piece is also interesting too, just to kind of throw that in there. You know, with different levels of government, there's, you know, we all hear the term government shutdown, you know, example in the more on the federal level, but I'm sure, or something similar could happen either on the state or on the county/city level as well. And just some of the challenges, obviously, with funding and as Michael alluded to, the limitations on your mission because of that funding and because of those resources. Looking at the time, I'm thinking we can maybe get one or two more in. I'm curious, because we're talking about government, and I know we kind of alluded to it earlier with the impact of local officials, but how do elections impact the work of the UP?
Oh, so if I just being a former elected official, I can genuinely tell you that, you know, the mood of the room could change in a second, you know, where you could be, I'll just use an example, like public safety focused or Department of Public Works focused, you know, in 1 year. Then the following year, there's 5 different new attitudes, and the mission, like Charles said here, it can change. And it's like, all right, well, the focus is going to be this, and that's where the room aims and focuses upon. So it turns into, you know, sometimes agendas get in the way before, you know, the needs of, you know, the people they're representing or what, you know, whatever. So it can be challenging. So.
Yeah, I realize it's a very loaded question. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'll only speak about this in a very broad way, but I work in a politically charged agency where when there's a presidential election, we have a 5-member board, and that changes from, it's always 3 to 2, but you always have, it fundamentally changes the way we work. And when I'm a career employee, I'm not a political, you know, appointee. I view it as I execute the mission that I'm given, and remember that you're not there to create policy in this position, or in very few positions are you there to create policy. And it's regular. I mean, I've been through, let's see, well, 12, 16, 20, 3 presidential elections. And I've seen people leave after each of them because they didn't like the way the new board was constituted. And they didn't want to do the work that they were going to be assigned during that administration. So, but I think that is important to remember that if you're going to enter government, at least the federal government, and you want to make it a career, you're going to work under administrations that you may not agree with their policies. But there's people placed in higher pay grades that make those policy decisions. And it's just a fact of life that you're going to have to work under policy that, or work to effectuate policy that you may not agree with on a personal level.
There was a comment in the chat, Dave made the comment, it's about working for taxpayers and spending money properly. So being a good steward of the public resources that you're given. Other folks, elections impacting your work? Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, so 100% agree with Dave. You know, that's the mission. We're at the Auditor General, we're a very mission-driven organization. Just to speak super briefly on, you know, how we're affected by elections, for the governor election, for example. So we are an independent agency. We're not under the governor's jurisdiction, and our Auditor General is an elected position. So Brian could probably speak to all the different administrations that he's seen throughout the year. But from what I've seen in my time being the Auditor General, right now, we are so fortunate to have the leadership that we have, you know, just being so workforce driven and investing in our employees. So yeah, the mood can certainly change, and each elected official would bring something different to the table. But I'm super fortunate where I am right now, and we've got 2 years to go. So I'm happy for that for sure. Brian, you could probably speak to that a little too.
I agree. I mean, I've been through, this is my third administration. They've been pretty similar, but this administration seems, they're great. They seem to want to do a lot of things with the technology. They are investing in the Bureau. And yeah, the other part for me is we audit municipalities. So I've gone to audit sites where you go there one time and everything's great and the audit's fine and you get the information and there's no problem. In the meantime, there's an election, you come back, whole new board, you know, whole new council, and all of a sudden you see people that were there years who love their job are like, I don't like this place. So an election can very definitely affect my job on that end as to what I do. But as far as my job where I work, I've been fortunate. They've been all good administrations, and everyone's been an improvement over the next. So yeah, we are very fortunate right now. But yeah, that's the other part though, is that I happen to audit municipalities, and it's not always good sometimes when you go back for the, you know, return audit.
Any other sort of last thoughts on the topic of election and how they impact the work?
Keep it out of the office. Never bring it up. Never talk about politics in the office, ever.
Any questions from the students, either here in the room or those who are on the chat or in the Zoom room? Give it kind of a final chance, because I see where we are time-wise, and I want to make sure. I know our students, some of them have class coming up here shortly. So I guess I'll kind of end it with, if you either have one piece of advice or maybe a resource if somebody wants to dig deeper, either into exploring government work. I know on our website, we maintain a lot of the different areas where folks can apply, either at usajobs.gov or Pennsylvania Jobs, Philadelphia Jobs. You know, we have different levels of government where folks can find work listed there. But I guess either resources or kind of final thoughts, pieces of advice, etc. Dave, you want to say that out loud?
I was going to say, you know, if you have time, you know, to do these things, you know, go to a conference, go to a municipal conference, go to a Pennsylvania conference. You know, if you're majoring in, I'll say it, geography, GIS, I would encourage somebody to go to the Northwest Pennsylvania GIS conference coming up in a couple of weeks. Go to these local conferences, go attend, or listen to a Zoom meeting that they have or something, you know. Do the networking, you know, same thing. If you want to work for the Auditor General's office, well, hey, we got some alumni that work there. So, but you know, if they're having a training session and you want to attend, sign up and go, you know, I mean, start getting involved, you know. It's the best way. First step in anything is showing up.
Other folks, tips, resources? Go ahead, Bernadette.
Yeah, I would say just from a lab perspective, you know, one of the major organizations that promotes public health labs is an association called the American APHL, American Society of Public Health Labs. So that's an organization that you can join as a student, or, you know, even if you're graduated from college and whatnot, you can join that organization. That will give you some insight as to what public health labs are dealing with, the latest issues that are out there, educational requirements to work in a lab, just a whole bunch of a broad variety of different topics. So I would strongly encourage that. APHL.
Thank you. And if you could do us a favor, if you could drop there maybe a website in the chat, that way we can add it when we put it up for YouTube on some of the resources like usajobs.gov that was just mentioned there by Dave. Michael.
Yeah, I guess as regarding resources, whatever your interest may be, know what the agencies are that, you know, have that mission, and find out what resources they make available. Maybe follow their Twitter feed, or go to their public affairs page, or find out where they put out information so you can be knowledgeable in that field. And one more general piece of advice is, you know, don't select out for anything. Put your application in and make sure that your materials, you know, also your materials, don't select out by not applying, but also don't disqualify yourself by submitting lackluster or silly errors in your application materials. And lastly, you know, have a little elevator pitch so you can tell people why they should hire you. If you bump into, you go to one of these conferences, a municipal conference, and you meet someone, well, you have a few minutes of their attention. Make sure that you give a good first impression, and let them leave knowing why they want to hire you. So, you know, you can spend a few, you know, you can put a half hour maybe, I don't know how long it takes, but at some point, spend some time putting together the elevator pitch.
Yeah, and I know Dave just put in the chat too, have somebody proofread your resume, business card, networking, join professional networks. Again, a lot of that stuff our office does for students. We do resume reviews. We'll do career coaching, and that can include things such as helping somebody develop an elevator pitch, helping somebody with, we do some mock interviewing as well. So we've got several resources just right here in our office that students can take advantage of. Other resources, I know we have stuff coming up in the chat, and I'll definitely post those with, you know, resources and with the description of this on YouTube. Michelle, do you want to say something, or Brian, either one of you?
Yeah, just to add, you know, working in government in the public sector, benefits are terrific. Work is high impact. You have a real opportunity to make a difference in your community. So much room for growth and advancement, as Brian mentioned before, you know, not even in your own agency. I mean, we have almost 400 people in our agency, and, you know, 7 different bureaus. So there's so much movement, even in our agency alone, let alone, you know, moving within the Commonwealth or in federal government also. Internships are huge. We had 7 interns this past summer, and we're looking to have more. And Brian and I are going to be at the accounting day at IUP on Wednesday. So come visit us. You know, that's an opportunity to show up, as everyone has mentioned. So we look forward to meeting people there. We have tons of job opportunities up on our website right now. I'll post that in the chat. And just ask us if you have any questions. We're here to support you. You're the future workforce, and we're so happy to be here and start that conversation with you today.
And one of the other resources I noticed with this administration, that they have a presence on social media more so than the last 2 administrations I worked under. Every day you see something there about we're hiring. It comes across a lot, at least, you know, so go there and check out the Auditor General's Facebook page, and I'm sure he has I'm not on Twitter, but a Twitter feed. And I see a lot of information coming over that on a daily basis.
Yeah, and just to kind of throw it out there, another shameless pitch before I come to you, Charles, with the folks who are going to be at the career fairs, whether it's the one coming up on Wednesday with the accounting and finance, specifically with the Auditor General's office, they're not just looking for accounting and finance majors, they're looking for management, marketing folks as well to help them with things like their social media and their other presences and communication with constituents. We also have a general fair coming up the following Wednesday where many government organizations are going to be there. You know, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania will be there in general. We've got some, I'm blanking on the term right now, federal government agencies such as the United States Supreme Court Police Department, NAPSA, which does some similar work to Charles, I believe, the Naval Support Activity out of Carlisle. But Charles, you have your hand raised thing up, so take it.
Definitely don't be afraid to be mobile either, especially with, you know, organizations that I work with now and ones I've worked in the past. There's offices everywhere. So, you know, we have offices throughout the U.S. We have one in Hawaii, Alaska. We're out in the Pacific. We're out in Europe. So if you can be mobile, you know, there's definitely places where there's either not a lot of interest or something like that. That's also good too. So definitely do that. And especially when, you know, I do work with the audit work, never get attached to what you write because you're going to be in it for a lot of disappointment of just people have different priorities. People make a lot of changes. They've been doing work a lot more than you have. So take ownership of what you do, put in your best effort. But when you get that first report or first project that you work on, if you see the attack of the red pen, don't get too frustrated that, hey, this is how we format things. This is how we do things. So definitely do your best, but yeah, don't take complete, you know, don't get married to what you write. So you're in for a lot of disappointment your first few times. So.
I just, from the lab perspective, I just have a comment. Jennifer, feel free to jump in. I'm saying something that, you know, you want to add to, but so for the public health lab, we do have positions that are quote unquote civil service positions, and we also have some that are not. So for the non-civil service positions, you do not have to be a city of Philadelphia resident. For the civil service ones, you do. So we do have, you know, several positions that don't require you to be a citizen of Philadelphia or a resident of Philadelphia. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay. Anybody else?
Attend alumni events.
Yes, as many of the folks on this call are alumni, we've done kind of a concerted effort with these panels, especially this semester, to try to have some IUP alumni in our panels. But you know, and we have several, even at our fairs, we'll have several alumni show up. And I know a lot of organizations, businesses, etc., choose to send alumni to their schools with the specific purpose of those folks want to reach out to you, as many of our panelists said today who are alumni. They're ready, they're willing, they want to talk to our students. We're hoping our students reach back to them as well. Given it's a little bit before 12:30, I realize some of the folks in the room here, as well as some of the folks on Zoom, might need to have some other places to go. Again, I want to thank everybody who was on the panel today. I also want to give a special shout out to Michael Berkheimer, who also was generous enough to give us a small donation to help cover some of the cost of the food that was provided. So again, Michael, thank you for that. We appreciate that. And again, for the alumni, for the folks who took their time and talents let me try that again. For the folks who took their time and their talent and took that time to share with us, we appreciate it. We thank you very much. I hope our students get a lot out of this, whether watching now or whether they choose to watch later. With that, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you to the folks on Zoom, and we'll see you down the road in the future. Some of you I'll see as early as Wednesday.